Welcome to Mixtapes and Mopeds with Red Wheels and Panda, the fastest growing podcast on the internet. As well, as the listeners remind us, hey, sorry, we took a little hiatus. We were out in their little
Life,
favorite place, little place called Hilton Head.
life got
So,
in the way a little bit. Yes.
how was your time in Hilton Head there, Panda?
It's our happy place, and now that we have a little place there, we're getting out there a little more frequently, and yeah, I obviously love it. And people go, "Oh, you're a beach person," and I'm not a beach person. I mean, it's an island; it has beaches, but and I think you share this, like we love the bike riding, the bike paths everywhere, mostly under trees, so you're blocked from the sun. It's just refreshing. It's flat, so you don't
That's
have
a
the
really good
hills.
point. Blocked from the trees, because that is you're not
You're,
out,
yeah,
and
this,
even if it's windy, you're blocked by you're
yes,
surrounded by yep, and you're
yeah.
surrounded by beauty. Yep.
Like if you go to like Destin or 38 area, like you're going to the beach and the sun is just pounding on you. But you go to Hilton Head, you're biking through trees. You don't you're totally blocked, and you don't. I don't even like put sunscreen on when I go out for a bike ride. You could never do that at a real beach. So that's
Hey,
really.
by the way, you introduced us to a new place at Palmetto Dunes.
Oh
Something the
yeah,
Ocean Club. What was it? The Ocean Club?
The Dunes house.
The Dunes House. The Dunes House. Love
Yeah.
that place.
Oh my
Caught a little
gosh.
football over there. Caught a little
Yeah.
lava drink. Had a little fun there as we moved along doing some of our biking. We
Yeah.
got in our Hudsons. Got in our fish camp. Got in our stews. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. And
That's
it
the other thing is the food. There's so many good, like you're similar to Jill and I, like our day revolves around the food. And so we have like 20 different spots, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner that we can, go, bike to or, drive to, but it's all kind of concentrated there. And we just love the options. So
You found a new one too. What was the new one over in Bluffton? You told us about
Hay Hills, it is
Hay
a
Hills.
farm to table. So it's basically on a farm and it's just outside of Bluffton, like Old Town Bluffton, and you pull up, you're like, wow, this is in the middle of nowhere, but it's like jammed. The parking lot is jammed, and the food is you can tell it's just straight from the farm, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Sounds like
Cahills.
Salt Lick in Austin.
Oh, don't get me
Oh,
going on that
no, no,
place.
don't go there, dude. Don't go
Woo!
there. Yeah, I think both of us have been forced to travel around to a lot of places. We've been to a lot of beaches, a lot of different places, everywhere from coast to coast. And we still go, that's our happy place. It's
Yeah,
just, it makes us our happy place. Well, around the horn, we also were lucky enough that the Panda family and the Wheels family went to go see one heck of a concert with Collective Soul and Hootie. What's the report card there,
oh,
Panda?
wow. I mean, we talked a little after. I'm curious what you thought of Collective Soul because I'm probably a bigger fan of Collective Soul than you and Barb. But I hadn't, when we were all single in the 90s, there were certain local bands
We
like
were
you.
single? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, can you believe that? Yeah, in the early 90s, right? There
Free
was,
kids. By the way, kids, if you're listening, yes, there was time before you.
right? There were bands there for in Atlanta. There was Driving and Crying. There was Indigo Girls, Vigilantes of Love, Uncle Green for me, but collect
REM. Come on. Yeah.
REM obviously from Athens. So and there were others, but Collective Soul was one of those bands. They emerged right in those early '90s, like kind of the mid '90s when they kind of hit it big. And I saw them a couple times in Atlanta, but I hadn't seen them in almost 30 years and I was just blown away that how tight that band is. They have if you're a fan, they have a really long catalog, strong catalog, and they played a good bit of it. And they just enjoyed playing together. It was even the way they closed it out, like they just got down together in the front of the stage and just playing acoustic guitar and just didn't want the night to end. It was just super cool. So I was
Let
super
me
happy.
shine on me, shine
Yeah,
on
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Oh
That's
man. I mean,
Shiny's a big song. Yeah.
it's in my head over and over and over again. I think I dream it about, and I still, I mean, Hootie's awesome. You can hear time all the time.
Yeah,
And Hootie,
yeah,
I prefer, Darius Rucker's good. And he's great. He's in his own, but just give me Hootie all day long. That
yeah,
album they put out is one of the best albums ever.
yeah.
Um,
I think there was probably 6 or 8 songs from their first album that just amazing, and they played most of them. And the thing about Hootie is, again, another band that just loves to play. They love being together. Darius's voice is still strong. They played a couple of his hits that I enjoyed, and they play like some really cool covers, and so it's really cool to hear their takes on songs you know, and so just a good mixture of their hits, some Darius's solo stuff, and then the covers. So I was impressed. We
And we
we
had
saw
just
them.
got off seeing him in South Carolina at the game day. We
Oh,
are, I
nice.
mean, literally, we are at the stage. I mean, we were 30 yards from where he was playing. And he had fired up. We got one song as he fired up.
Oh,
And then we were going around trying to get around, of course, me trying to sneak in the backstage. And
of course.
50-year-old me can't sneak in the backstage. Well, 50, heck, we're knocking on the door. 60-year-old me, the old man, if I would have got out the cane, I would have kind of tried to claim handicap access to walk in the backstage to try to get into the game day. But I did get snap pictures literally 3 feet from the crew. Our seats were right in front of game day when they're making their picks with Herb Street and the boys. It was pretty freaking awesome. Yeah.
So cool. Like you guys are going to that game regardless to see Chloe, and then boom, game day shows up the
Game day
weekend you're
shows up.
there, and you guys
Right.
just soak that
And
up. That's
so,
awesome.
South Carolina deserved to win that game.
Mm.
They made a ton of mistakes, but it was still one heck of a football game. I always feel sorry for the Carolina fans because they always show up going, I know we're probably going to lose, but I think we might win. And they always get really darn close and, just come away going, next year, next time, next.
Yeah.
We hate
I,
that. We've been
yeah,
there.
their fans, they're some of the best college football fans in the country, without a doubt. I had a bunch of Clemson fans in those early '90s and played a lot of softball with those guys. So I went up to several South Carolina Clemson games. Man, their fans were always good natured. I mean, it's a very big rivalry, but I think Clemson would always win those games. But their fans, I just always remember them being very
By the way,
classy.
I will definitely sign up. I've been in Alabama Stadium, been in a lot of these big stadiums, but I will say the South Carolina Stadium is one of the most electric places to see a game, to have fun, to make you smile. So
Mhm.
just the in between game stuff, whether you're a visiting fan, it's a show that they put on and do a great job. They motivate the whole stadium. Great place to see it. Just a good place to see it.
So cool.
All right. First segment is our Dirty Niner. Our Dirty Niner this week is we've got a little topic of the top video games of the 80's. So, EA Sports has come out with finally college football has come back out. I think it's like a 11-year hiatus, 2013 since the last release because the players weren't getting paid. Now they're magically getting paid. I think they get $600 to go be in the game. Plus, they get a free game to go be on there. I think what Manning is probably getting 50 grand to go out there and promote the game. I think what I read was somewhere like 1.5 billion is so far what they've generated in between selling the consoles and all the games. So EA Sports has cleaned up. Good job on them. Thank you. But we were fortunate enough, or back in the day, we grew up in a town where there was a big manufacturing plant and an entrepreneur who had a convenience store close to that manufacturing plant. Well, he opened up a game place called Fair Play. So, Andy, what do you remember? Excuse me, Panda, what do you remember of Fair Play?
Yeah, it was called Thomas Fair Play, and it was over on your side of town. It was over by the Pizza Cottage or somewhere near Pizza
It was
Cottage, right?
just about a quarter of a mile away from the glass manufacturing plant. Yeah.
True, true. So it was kind of tucked
Blue
away.
collar world. I grew up in the blue collar
I
world.
know, I know. So I'd have to go over to your side of the tracks, man, to go to this place. But no, it was I don't Steve, you might remember better, but it almost was like a manufactured building, almost like a double wide or something that I remember you had it was like up on blocks or something, and you would take your
Concrete
steps
blocks.
up.
It was like a
Yeah,
concrete. So
yeah.
if you had tornado sirens going off,
Oh,
you wanted to
yeah.
go into Thomas's Fair Play.
So I don't know. That must have been like my sophomore year, junior, something like that. And that was like my Friday night was to take a bunch of quarters and dollar bills and just go in. And I remember the layout. To this day, I remember the layout. I walk into the doors and straight to the right corner were my two video games that I played most of the time. And so there are a bunch of other dorks like me in there. But there was a lot of people that would, at least even the people that were going out and like drinking or partying, they would still stop by and just see who was in there or whatever. But I really wasn't into that in my early high school days. I was really more into the video game playing.
Yeah, I never ran into the girls in there partying, so I might have stopped after my paper route was done in eighth grade. But high school, it still was a place to go.
It was. There were girls in there. Maybe I don't know. Yes, there was guys and gals.
I'll tell you what, that guy was an entrepreneur spirit, man. He had a convenience store with a meat market, and they made their money off of the glass factory. Then they opened up the Fair Play. Then after that, as we got older, he opened up the biggest bar in Central Ohio called Desert Rose for all the Lancaster people listening. That was one of the classic bars of all time. Desert Rose and Charlie Horse. If you ever say the most classic bars, iconic bars of Lancaster history, besides Benny's Fairview and Sweeney's,
Yeah,
those two are some of the most classic icon bars back in the
yeah.
70s, 80s, and 90s of just a huge, and it was one of the biggest, huge things of Central Ohio. And he was such an entrepreneur. And then he turned it into a church and became, he converted the bar into a
After
church.
10 years of decadence, he
After
turned it
10
into a
years of
church.
decadence.
Uh,
I kind of liked it because I could walk home from the Desert Rose when I got there.
from the
All
church.
right. So the Dirty Niner, you're going to kick it off. You're number one on the list. When you walked into the Fair Play, or you were at home, or you were
Yeah.
anywhere else, started off, what is the best video game number one?
So back in the day, we didn't have many options at home, and I guess there was some Atari stuff, but we didn't even have that. And there was been some tank games or Pong, whatever. But so that's why I went to this place so much. Anyway, come in the building, take a right, far right corner. My favorite game in the world is a game that very few people even remember, but it was called Gorf. You remember the game Gorf?
I don't.
Okay,
I do not. I have no idea what that one is. Do
so
not
Gorf
remember that.
So Gorf is you start and there's like four or five levels, and like the first level is like Space Invaders. So you would do
Space
this, clear the
Invaders.
Space Invaders screen, and then there was two or three or four other screens that one of them was almost like Galaga. It was like a precursor to Galaga, and so you would get through all five screens, and then they would take you to the next level. And I remember this game. It was a talk. It would tell you audio where what your status was. And I remember Space Avengers, you are a Space Avenger. That was like if you got to the highest level, which I regularly got to the highest level. And it was I remember you had to kill the mothership, you had to break through the force field and kill the little spot underneath the belly. Anyway, so I played that game. I must have invested hundreds of dollars into that one game. So that's got to be number one on my list. Gorf.
Was Dodger in there with you playing that game, or was it
Absolutely, absolutely.
absolutely? Was that
Yeah.
his game as well?
No, yeah, he played. Absolutely, he played. Yep. Yep. I was probably more addicted than most
So
to
thank
that
you
one.
for saving mine. That's a good one. I do not remember that at all. I don't think I ever played that. I think mine was to the left, and you had already mentioned it, and you saved it for me too, because this is the one I played constantly. Still, even when I go see it in some bar, I'll go in there and stick a couple quarters. Now it's probably $1.50 to play it by now, and I see it actually. You can buy it for your household. Galaga, man, Galaga was what I played all the time. It was just trying to be the top scorer. Unfortunately for me, it always showed Panda at the top line. I had to go figure out how to beat.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. By the
I had to
way, I
go
believe it's
beat Panda.
called Galaga. So yeah, your favorite game is Galaga.
It might have been Mike Bush maybe at the top. I don't know. Floyd,
Floyd.
Floyd, yeah, Floyd. It could have been Floyd at the top of the line, but it was one of those games. I spent, I don't know, hundreds of dollars playing Galaga. It was hours upon hours because you could. I
So
don't think you could switch. You had to continuously play. There was not like you could do a stop and next player would come in.
Oh my God.
I think they had doubles in it where you could
Yeah,
have two people playing
you
it. I don't.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. That is a game. So that one probably over time has resonated the longest for me. I'll still play Galaga. Yeah, like you said, it still exists in places, and I have one of those in my house where one of those that you can play it here. But that one, your hand would get so tired from all of the firing. The do 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 do. I mean, yeah, you get
That's
if
why I have
you
tennis elbow today.
yeah, right. If you get to 100,000 there, like I would just wear down out of just being tired. I was always good at that, but I was never like the very top of the list. So I could never quite get to the elite players. But yeah, that's a great game.
Number 3 on the list.
All
What do you
right,
have? What's number
so
3?
right to the right of Gorf. So when I got tired of Gorf, there was this game was a tank game called Battle Zone. Do you remember that game?
Oh
It's
yeah.
So it was a game where you would put your head up to like the periscope kind of thing where you're supposedly looking at the field and you'd put up like that. And the game was so low tech, like all of the other tanks were these green like stick figures almost, right? And you would shoot at them and they would make noises like they did on,
Oh
and you
yeah,
blow up tanks and
yeah.
then you get nailed and that was a hard game, but I enjoyed that. That was kind of my when I would play for funsies when I was done with Gorf.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't play. I played that a few times. I didn't play it too many times, but I played that one a few times.
Yeah, it was good.
That's a good number 3. All right, number 4. I'm gonna give you. It's not walking into fair play. This is one we played all around and played it in junior high and played it at school. It's the first time you started sneaking in with pre-cell phone. Can you imagine pre-cell phones? No contact. The first one is out there by Mattel. Mattel made this game and played it for hours and hours, and it wasn't flipping a football field between your hands and flicking it across and kicking it. It was the Mattel Classic football game that you played, the
Oh,
handheld
yeah,
little
yeah, yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
played that for hours, and it's
yeah.
all it was back into was just a little blip on a screen
It
that you're
was a
moving, and
blip, a
it
little
was a
dash
blip, a
almost.
little dash on the screen.
Yeah,
You're running down the field. It wasn't a quarter, but I don't know if that thing was. I don't know. I think it might have been $50 at the time.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but playing that for hours against, you go score your touchdown, hand it to your
yeah,
friend, score their
yeah,
touchdown. I don't even think you could put a defense in. It was just you and you
yeah,
know, I
yeah.
remember
That's
getting
right.
stopped here and there, but it was just the dumbest game. But you
Huh?
played it for hours.
So my brother and I guess we couldn't afford like the real Mattel version, so we had like a cheap knockoff game, and it didn't work quite as great. But yeah, it was one of those where you had like three buttons like on top of each other, a high, medium, and a low, and your goal was to like move your dot like up or down to avoid
Up
the
or down.
defense.
Yeah,
And there
yeah,
was
yeah.
another game where you're like constantly your fingers like and practically breaking the little cheap piece of plastic. But yeah, we did that for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, that was fun. Actually, forgot about that one. That's a good one.
Number 5. What's number 5 on the Panda list?
All right, this one I didn't play in Thomas Fairplay, but my parents got. Do you remember when they had a Commodore 64, where it
Oh
was like
yeah.
a
Yeah,
computer
yeah, yeah.
basically, and you
Yeah.
didn't even have a monitor or like so you hook up to a
You
TV,
connected the
whatever.
TV, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
but
you
it
bought it
had
out at LS, Lancaster Sales.
probably, yeah. So anyway, there wasn't a whole lot you could do with them. It didn't even have tape drives. You had to like you actually hooked in like a cassette player to like try to get something into its memory, but it did have a slot for cartridges, and there were only a couple of games, and one of them was Donkey Kong, and that's when I
Donkey Kong.
became
Oh,
huge
yeah.
Donkey Kong fan.
Yeah.
Love this.
Yeah.
Now there's all the versions after that, but I'm an OG original Donkey Kong fan. So I played the heck out of that, and that's what I play here in our box that we have in the house here. Donkey Kong's my favorite version to play.
Great pick there at was that number what was the number
That was
5?
five. Yep.
Number 6. Number six, I'm going number six is it was there was one or two. They might have had one at the Fair Play place, but I'm gonna go with the one that I did a lot at one of my friends had a game room in his basement and we played all the time. Shout out to the Wonka King. He had in his basement a pinball game, and we would gamble all night long on who would get the highest score on the pinball machine, and just beat the crap out of it, shake it, play all night on pinball. It was free from that part, except for we gambled on every game. First time there wasn't the app today. There wasn't DraftKings that you were going out there. We were gambling on a nickel and a dime on who would get the highest score for the night. Until his dad came home, then we'd start betting $2 and $3 to beat him when
Oh,
he got home at
I
about 11 or 12 o'clock at night, so we could take his money. So I will go to the pinball machine as number six, is one of my favorite things to go to.
yeah,
Just loved it. I still love playing pinball.
yeah, I do too. I play a lot of pinball. That's a good one for sure. All right, now I'm getting to the point where I'm really struggling a bit, but I'm gonna go number seven. I'm gonna go Frogger. Just a classic game. Can be a little frustrating at times. Got the snakes trying to get you, and the cars speed up, but I just
Yeah, but we still talk about it today, just walking
yeah,
across the street in Alpharetta. You're going,
exactly.
I play Frogger trying to cross the street downtown
Exactly.
Alpharetta.
Right.
I'm gonna get hit by some truck coming across the stupid street.
All
And
right.
everybody goes, "Hey, you playing Frogger?" Yeah, and then people remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
classic game.
Yeah, it is.
Great pick. I'm really struggling at number eight. I've got three that I really I'm I'm gonna go with number eight because I played this with my father. It's the original. You mentioned it before. My number eight is it brings me, comes back to a segment we're coming up into, takes you back to a place of having fun. Waking up Christmas morning, you get the present and you open it up and you're like, oh my God, I got the video game. I know. And it was Atari. And it was the
Mm.
first video games of all time. And it was Pong. And
Oh
Pong
my
was, I
God.
mean,
I
Pong was
I had
nothing
it.
more. Pong was nothing more than kind of like tennis on the video
Yeah.
screen. All you
Yep.
did was move something up and down and it moved back and forth. And I played against my father, and my father was okay playing that video game with me for hours and hours. And so I go back and I go, you know what? That's a great memory that I was able to play with my father for, as a kid, you're going to beat your parents every single time. I play video games with Stone, and he just kicks my butt no matter what I do. Even if I put some football game in automatic and let it pick its own plays, I'm still going to get my butt kicked. Um, that's what kids do. But Pong just took me back of that was a happy time. Get to play with my father back in the day.
I remember that was the first console we got. I don't know who made it, but yeah, all you could do was play Pong on it. I'm like, yeah, okay,
They
this is
came out with a
interesting.
second game, but it was really lame. It
Yeah,
would
like
it
it
would
was.
constantly crash.
So I remember I didn't play that very long, and then there was some like tank game that was a little bit better. That I don't think it was. It might have been a different. I don't remember. The early days are pretty rough on variety for our video games. That's for sure.
Unlike today, where it's almost right real live, like you're out there on the field.
All right.
Number nine, the
Well,
Dirty Niner.
I'm gonna have some honorable mentions, but I'm gonna go with this one just because I just love the noises and it was moved so fast. It was called Centipede. They also had a
Oh,
movie.
good
Yeah,
call. Oh
yeah,
yeah, I played
Big Centipede.
Centipede.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
a good
good
game.
call. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I just like for some reason
Good
the
call.
noises. Just like
Yeah. It was a good noise. That's a
yeah,
great call.
yeah.
Honorable mentions. We both have honorable mention with Pac-Man. That was. I mean, I have the honorable mention because that was a class that I had to do in college. We had to program Pac-Man in Pascal in engineering, and that was the entire quarter was programming Pac-Man.
Wow.
And that's what your final grade was on Pac-Man. Of course, Andy, I had the entire program in my hands the second day I was in the class. So I,
Geez, great work.
yeah, it was great work by me. So all I was doing was making it very pretty. So what I was able to do was taking the benefit of somebody else that already did it and making it look very pretty and presenting it. So needless to say, I might have done well in that class. I always
No,
go and
earmuffs
say,
though,
figure,
earmuffs.
oh no, go and find if somebody's done it, go and figure out how you take it, but you got to improve on it. You just can't take it and accept what they've got, make it better. And so, yeah, I took that and made it better. It was but it didn't have color; it was black and white. I made it color and made the other things pop in there. And that's how you get a better grade in the whole class,
There we
anyway.
go.
But I'm sure the professor goes, "That son of a gun, I already knew it."
Yeah, I've seen this before. Slap some lipstick on this. I've seen this. Yeah.
Hey, we don't have to talk about slapping lipstick on a pig. Let's just leave
Oh,
that.
okay. All right. All right. Don't want to go there yet. Okay. I
No, we
hear you.
don't go there.
All right. Understood. Well,
Your
let me,
honorable mentions. I've got a
yeah, my
couple more.
own.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I think Asteroids is one of the like the breakthrough games. You know, it was still a simple game, but I could not play that worth a darn. I was not very good at it, but I played a lot. But that was like where it's finally like, okay, this is cool, and it was there was enough variety. It wasn't like Pong where after 5 minutes you'd seen everything. So Asteroids has got to be on the list. Pac-Man, you say, I agree. Space Invaders was like even then another
That was a good
level.
game too. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Space Invaders would have been on my list too.
yeah.
Yep,
And
yep.
then two more. Dig Dug. Do you remember that game? It was like the little critter would dig underground to get chased by the things, and you were trying to gobble up the prizes. That's a game that I've actually found in the last 10 years. I didn't play it much back then, but I really, really, really like Dig Dug. It's kind of a cool game. And then the final one is Defender. It's where you got the little cities at the
Oh
bottom and the
yeah,
missiles coming
yeah,
in. You got
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
like
yeah.
that
That was
game.
a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, those good, solid, honorable mentions. Crap, you could have put those up there in the list.
I know.
Those were good ones, really good ones. My only other two honorable mentions was not even, I mean, I spent my life playing on a 6 foot pool table and playing at a poker table. They weren't video games, but man, we played all night long in back in the 80's and 90's. I mean, just playing cards.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't the
Poker.
video stuff, but it certainly made you think, got your strategy going, kept the social life going. Yeah, till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, which you shouldn't be staying up that late at 16, 17. Well, maybe 18 you have to, but anyway. Great segment with the Dirty Niner, the top video games. Fantastic job there, Panda. Our next segment is we're saying our next segment is going to be the Hottie Toddy. Rolling into the Hottie Toddy. And the Hottie Toddy in the South is there's always a little bit of a drink that you may be carrying into a game. So the Hottie Toddy, we have like I like about 4 shows on Sunday mornings. I got like a finance show I love to listen to. I got like go listen to church and listen to North Point, listen to Andy Stanley here and there when I can find him. But college football season, man. There's nothing better than on Sunday on Sirius XM. It's called Sports Sunday with Barrett Sallee and Tom Luganbull. And man, those guys are just the best at recapping what happens in college football. Well, right after we got done with Hilton Head, went to the USC game. My wife, I was driving the RV home. My wife's driving the car home. We're in two separate vehicles. And I'm pulling into a gas station and I hear, and on the phone we have Barbara. Barbara, go. And so the part that they had was to be introduction to the show was you had to say your hottie toddy or what is your your favorite adult beverage before you are starting your game or going into a game. What are you going to have? And so I went, we ought to be talking about what is our favorite ritual before we go into a game, before Mrs. Wheels, she came in and says mango cart. of walking into a game, and they about threw her off the network. And then she goes, "Oh, no, no, no! My husband might have a bourbon." I go, "Okay, you're worthwhile to talk to." And she had actually one of the best segments that I've heard on their radio station talking about the South Carolina LSU game. But Panda, what is your pregame ritual? Whether you're at home or you're going somewhere with your friends, what do you what's your food? So number one, what's the favorite food of choice? And let's say that we got two variations, a noon game and a 7 o'clock game. What's your variations? If you do a noon game, 7 o'clock game, what are you gonna have food wise, and what's your adult beverage that you want to have right before the game? Go.
It really depends on where I'm watching the game because as I've gotten older, I've started just watching the games by myself because I just get annoyed by other people for the most part.
I
So
think you can accept me. I think only
no,
me,
you're not
nobody else.
you. No, no, you and Barbara are cool. I'm talking about like going into a bar and having to
People
listen to
talking to
other
you.
knuckleheads. Like no. So when I'm at home, like we did this past weekend, Jill makes her queso and taquitos, and that is like our we do that
Ooh.
almost every time that we're
Oh.
watching a football game, whether it's noon. It works best at noon,
Oh.
so that's kind of our staple from a food perspective. Now, when I go out and I'm socializing, like going to a bar, going to somebody's house, like a noon game is a Bloody Mary for me. Is how I would start. Like 11 o'clock, I would start drinking
Very good. You would have
Bloody
been welcome
Marys.
to the Sunday sports show. They welcome on the yes of the Bloody Mary. That's a very good choice.
Yeah, if I'm trying to sneak booze in someplace, it's rum. Rum and Diet Coke is my go-to. So get a bag of rum and shove it somewhere, and then get your Coke, and so that's my MO for a football game. Actually at a game.
Yes, pretty tough. Now that we have kids, and we, back in the past, I mean, we were shoving down 6 pack, 12 pack, watching the game before. And who cares about food? Now we got to set up the stomach and go. All right, I need some eggs and some potatoes to begin with. If it's going to be a morning kickoff, I'm not much for a lunch at a 12 p.m. kickoff. I just want to have give me some eggs and hash browns in the morning, just something relatively light but fills up the stomach. And morning, I'm with you. But I'm probably not gonna go that strong with a Bloody Mary. I'm probably gonna start off with something that's gonna be on the lighter side, like a Mick Ultra, but lead it into something a little more tastier, maybe a little mango cart, and maybe an IPA. But for a 12 kickoff, if it's a cold day, then we're gonna add maybe a little bit of Bailey's and coffee, and we're gonna load up the Bailey's and coffee for a cold game kickoff. Now we're hitting a 7 o'clock kickoff or a later day kickoff. Then bring in the chicken wings and let's do everything. Do it up. We've got a spread going on. Give me some chili. Give me some chips. They're going with it. Some cheese, and then we're gonna load up the we are going to be hitting up the IPAs, and we're going to be loading it up with them. Not much of a liquor drinker. We don't do any of that. Never have done any of that. We stick with wine and beers, and not walking into the game to forget the game. Walk into the game to smile and cheer for the team. That's probably the game day duty we're probably going to do. We don't.
Yeah.
Maybe now. I will say that Mrs. Wheels has a ritual. And the ritual is after an Auburn football game, if Alabama wins after an Auburn football game, she calls up one of her friends from Auburn, and he and her will do a shot on the phone of Patron tequila, and not a little shot. She keeps it in the refrigerator. It's a big shot of Patron tequila, so I know when I see Alabama beat Auburn, it's time for me to go to bed. Uh,
Nice.
because I am not going to be around the Patron Tequila and the Mrs. Wheels.
Well, to be clear, I'm a big Mango Kart fan myself, so I would definitely participate in some Mango Karts. That's my favorite beer. So,
Oh, but your warm up with what Jill said, spot
yeah,
on. That's
yeah.
fantastic. All right, we're going to go to a segment. We're going to be repeating. This is a great segment. The Panda came up with a segment, and for everybody listening, life is about think about for yourselves. What what are the little pleasures that just we have in the world today? We get smacked with news all day long. You go, golly, it's just so negative. And the panda and I have a very common theme. We like just to smile and laugh. And for everybody listening, watching, we want to make you smile, have a good time. You may enjoy what we say, but you're not going to hear us. We are not going to talk too much about negative. We're going to talk about positive. This segment is about life's little pleasures. And the panda has a great idea of how do you put something out there. What is something that takes you back, that puts a little smile on your face? Panda, what's that thing that makes a little smile on your face?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of windshield time going back and forth between Atlanta and Hilton Head, and one of my wife Jill, and our kind of things that we do is, well, she'll get a thing of M&M peanuts, and historically I've always done like a Nutter Butter package too, but don't always do that. But we pretty much always have the M&M peanut, and she'll just kind of feed them to me one at a time. And I was, driving, and I realized like I eat these M&Ms one at a time. It's not like I don't put like three in my mouth. And I'm like, this is one of these little things that you would never think is like a life's little pleasure, but I enjoy the process to me. And then I started breaking it down. Like I'm chewing on this M&M, and I'm like, there's like four phases to eating an M&M peanut. There's the first phase is you crack that kind of sweet outer shell, so your tooth breaks through that. And then it goes straight into phase two, where you're getting very briefly, like microseconds, you're into like the soft, sweeter chocolate, and and you can actually, if you do this, it's actually you'll catch all these phases if you do it. And then like phase three is you hit that the peanut core, right? And it gets hard again, and you crunch down, and then you immediately go into phase four, which is just chewing it up, chopping off, mixing all the ingredients up. And I'm like, I really enjoy this stupid little process. It's just something that it makes me warm inside. And I'm not asking for another one and another one. And, I probably eat two-thirds of the bag. And then I'm like, Jill and I also have this other thing, like maybe once a week, maybe not as much as that, but we go to DQ regularly, and they have the blizzards and all the options. One of which is the M&M, peanut is a blizzard, and I'm like, that's one of my favorite little pleasures. Why don't I ever order that in a blizzard? And then I realized, like, because by the time I get a blizzard, the ingredients are already mixed up. It skips straight to phase four. I don't get phase one, two, or three with the blizzard, and it's not the same. So I don't order M&M blizzards. I end up getting something else. So anyway, it just struck me as like that's something that like nobody would know about me or anybody, and I'm like, it's just kind of I enjoy it. So I thought, hey, let's talk about stupid little stuff that gives us pleasure that maybe you wouldn't otherwise think would do it. So that's my first one.
No wonder you're in marketing. All I can think about as soon as you started walking through your steps of the process, I think of the cartoon commercial with the owl and the Tootsie Roll Pop. A one, two, a three. And he
That's
bites
very
into it
good.
to combine all of the flavors. And I go, and that's why he's the marketing genius. Give it up to the marketing genius. Yeah, because
Anyway.
I would never go through the sheer pleasure of having one of those damn things in my mouth and going, oh yeah, one and two. I'm going, woohoo!
You don't know what you're missing out on, buddy. Come on. Get with the game here.
I would be the chipmunk with both the sides pull up going, oh, yeah, I'm crunching through all those flavors. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty good. No, I would never be able to hold myself back on that. Anyway, yeah, but again, you made me think of that owl and the Tootsie Roll Pop. So, you made me think about that. I really, so my life's little pleasures, I was going, what puts a smile on my face? It was not going through and having the taste of the M&M. That's the peanut M&M. I was trying to think of what is the thing if you do one thing, and I know there's one thing that I know, and it's a common theme in our show here. And the common theme in our show is when I belly up and sit down to watch an Ohio State football game, and I have to be early. I really hate missing kickoff. I want to be there before kickoff. I want to see the entire thing. I want to see it from beginning. I don't necessarily have to see the end as long as we're way up, but I really want to see it from kickoff. And it's the pregame stuff. And the reason why is I go back and, for me, whenever I go through those, I got to admit, before I moved to Atlanta, I was not like the super college football fan I am today. Um, I was more maybe NFL with the Steelers, but still was such an Ohio State because I went to High University, went to Vanderbilt, so you have a little different allegiance. So you have a little different cheering. So you go, oh, it wasn't the same thing. But as you get older, you go, yeah, but it took me back in my 12, 13, 14, 15 with, again, being around my father and being around with the family. We'd all sit down and watching that kickoff and watching Ohio State. We were always the head of the game. We weren't watching the middle of the game. It was from start to finish
Oh,
with Woody Hayes, with John Cooper. Then we moved to Atlanta. It really intensified because then I'm with my buddy here, Panda, and with Red and all kinds of other folks. And now I moved it with my family, and you're enjoying it with your family. And they're diehard Ohio State fans. They may root for another team, but their number two team definitely is Ohio State. So, just probably that time from the beginning kickoff go, watching that first half is my life's little pleasure of just thinking of it. It's a whole generation going back to being a kid and thinking about memories of growing up a kid. And every time you go, you just go back to the beginning days of Woody Hayes and fast forward and think over the years, and it just brings a happy smile on their face. It's not crunching down on a peanut. It's not enjoying, but it's a memory flavor lane, is what I'd
wow.
probably say.
That I totally can relate to that. And I think with college football more so than pro, it's about the pageantry and the traditions and like you wouldn't ever like go to a Ohio State game and you would never miss Script, Ohio. You would just never do it, right? So there's
Never.
all these never. So you would always want to catch the beginning of games and
Would never miss
halftime and
the
all that.
Ohio University Bobcat beating the shit out of the Ohio State Buckeye. When you were here now, you're like fifth
Yeah,
row.
we had a good view of that one. Yeah, but you're right, Steve. The just the kickoff, there's something about it that it's not the same for like if I miss the, first half inning of a baseball game, Major League Baseball game or even an NFL game, but college football is different. There's just
I
some
want to
there's
see it
energy. Yeah.
start. I want to see the start. I don't necessarily always need to see the finish because if it's a blowout, you go, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But I want to see it from as soon as that thing is kicking off. I want to be there. I don't want to catch it somewhere in between. It actually
That's a
drives
good one.
me absolutely insane of not being there and kind of being around with family too when I'm watching it. But yeah, that's one of my life's little pleasures.
I like that.
That's a segment we're going to keep on. That's a really good segment. And for all you listeners, it's something for you all to think about too. What's your life's little pleasure? What makes you put a smile on your face? Our closing segment this week is going to be about now. So we've got some games to go pick. We're picking the best games of week 5. I think we're at week 5. I think it's week 5 this week, and it's been, man, this is what a season. So we're going to start off, and we'll bounce back and forth. There's no rhyme or reason here. Let's go Washington at Rutgers. Rutgers is favored by 2.5. What say you, Panda?
I think Rutgers wins the game and covers as well. I think Greg Schiano's a hell of a coach, and I think they have gotten their talent level up there a little bit. I think Washington's just down a smidge, and they're on the road going all the way across the country. So I'm going to go with Rutgers.
I agree with you. Washington's got a hell of a coach. I don't know if you ever heard of the story about the Washington head coach. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the one that he snuck into the O.J. Simpson trial by posing as a lawyer on the opposite side, and he walked into the courtroom I can't remember his name, but it's one hell of a story. I love that Washington coach. He was at
Funny.
Arizona last year, built up a program. So I can't go too much far, but they're traveling across the country. Shiano's going to get the troops up. That's going to be a Rutgers win, probably cover as well.
Yeah.
All right, Oklahoma State versus Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 6 at Kansas State. What do you think?
Kansas State got ripped this weekend. This
Yeah.
last weekend was that Washington State? Who beat them? They got beat up pretty good.
Oh, I don't know who beat them. I know they
Okay,
got beat pretty good.
they got beat good. So I'm gonna go with Oklahoma State. I think just because I
They
think
lost to Utah, and they lost to Utah without having their star quarterback either.
yeah,
But their defense was solid. Their offense was sputtering. I
yeah.
think the comment Kansas State fans had said is, "Why did we let Will Howard go?"
Oops.
Oops. Oops. Why did we let Will Howard go? Because the other guy gave up 2 pretty easy interceptions. I can't remember who they played, but I gotta believe that Mullet Head's gonna really have this team fired up. Oklahoma State still has a chance to be in the Big Ten championship against Utah. I'm gonna bet all day long on him, all day long with Oklahoma State, even though it's at Kansas State, favored by 6, and I can't. All right, next game's pretty interesting. Maryland at Indiana. Indiana's showing up 4-0. I think Maryland's 3-1. Indiana's
Yeah.
showing up 4-0. What say you, Panda?
Well, I just got to look at the calendar. It's September. Okay, Maryland's actually good in September, so you got to take that under advisement because once it turns October, they suck. So they're still in their good mode. But having said that, this new coach at Indiana brought some guys over from James Madison. Apparently, the guy can really coach up. He brought a bunch of other transfers in, and it's hard to say until they really hit some kind of more elite teams. But it feels like they might have a shot to get to 8, 9, 10 wins this year.
Indiana brought in Rourke from Ohio
That's
University,
right.
who is the
Yes.
sixth year quarterback. He had a red shirt. He had a injury year, and he's got his I think his last year with getting a pass. So he's in his 6th year playing, and he is lighting it up. And they've got 2 major players. Don't be surprised if Indiana's going to be somewhere up at 6-7-0 coming up. They are going to be knocking on the door of something interesting. I don't know if they're good enough to go to the Big Ten championship, but they're an interesting team,
Yeah.
especially with this new coach. I think the Indiana's problems are defense. I think their offense is going to score some points, but if their defense can hold up, that might be a good game. All right, Wisconsin versus USC. USC's favored by 14 and a half. 14 and a half after I think they were favored going into Michigan.
Yeah.
I think they were favored by 2 or
Yeah.
3 going into
Yeah.
Michigan. And Michigan, what the quarterback have 33 yards passing. And you said, "Hey guys, guess what? We're running the ball, and we're going
Right.
to run the ball down your throat, and then we're going to run it again. Then we're going to run it again." And they figured out that USC's defense, which has always been the problem there for the coach at USC, and he supposedly fixed it this year. Can he fix it against Wisconsin? Or can our boy from Ohio State come back and make it a game? What say you?
Yeah. I got USC here, Wisconsin. To go across to California, that's always a challenge. I think USC's run defense is obviously, as you just mentioned, exposed, but Wisconsin is not the Wisconsin of old. They're trying to have more of an open offense. I don't know that
Yeah,
they
they're trying to
have.
do RPO, run pass
Yeah, so
play.
I
They're
don't
trying to do the RPO.
know if they're going to be able to exploit. So I got USC winning, and I even have them covering. So we'll
Wow.
see. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a lot
They're
of
going to
points
be
to
more than
lay. I
two
agree.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
Wow. All
What
right,
about
tough
you?
game
What
coming
what
up.
what do you think?
Well, I think no, I think Wisconsin. I think with USC is going to win, but I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's going to be a little closer. I think I think they're going to be a little more coached. The defense is going to be a little better than what USC's offense is good, but I think they're going to be able to. stop USC's game. I mean, USC pulled their quarterback, and there's a little bit of a problem there, but they'll be fine. But USC wins. They don't cover, my opinion.
Yep.
Louisville, Notre Dame. Notre Dame -6.5. That's a strong spread against Louisville. I think Louisville 3-1 or undefeated. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm not sure. They look good. I'm just going to go with Notre Dame to win.
Yeah,
I
same
just,
here. Notre Dame
yeah,
to win. I
tighter
don't think they
tone.
cover. Notre Dame wins. Oklahoma, Auburn. I'm going to be at this game, so can I call it? Who am I going to
Road
root for?
trip. There
Who
you
am I going to
go.
root
All
for?
right.
It's going to be the road trip. We're going to be a road trip. We're going to be at there with the camper. We're going to be there, the RV. Game day. Wheels family game day
There you
is at
go.
Auburn against Oklahoma. What do you say, Panda?
Oklahoma's going to beat them pretty good by 10, I think.
I am going to bet that we have our coach is going to step onto the field and make some changes, and we're going to have a defense that steps up. Now, Oklahoma's favored by 2. I think I got to go with Auburn. Auburn's going to win. Auburn's going to win by 3. Auburn's going to win by 3. All right, Prime and UCF. Prime has been. I don't know if you watched the last week with Prime against Baylor.
Wow.
They threw that touchdown pass there, and they threw 2 of them. The first one should have been caught and been down at the 1-yard line. Second one caught and in the end zone with no time left on the clock, and then they make the touchdown. So Prime, what do you think? -14.5 spread at UCF.
I think Colorado covers but loses the game. That's how I would go with that. I think UCF
At
wins.
UCF, I am going to go with an upset here. I'm going and betting on Prime. I'm betting on Hunter. I'm going to bet on Shador. I'm going to bet on that place coming in there just to make a difference. Although I can't, the coach for UCF is just too awesome. He's a great defensive mind, so he's going to figure out who he's going to go cover. But I'm going to bet on Prime getting this win, pulling it out to get himself in the hunt for being bowl eligible. All right, Ohio State, Michigan State. Little bit of a scary game, but probably not. 24.5-point favorite. The question is, do we cover or is it going to be a blowout?
I don't see a way that this Michigan State team can do what they did in '98 and whatever the other year was in 2015. I just don't, unless there's some torrential downpour or something freakish with the weather. I think Ohio State wins. Maybe they don't cover. Maybe it's something like 42-20, something like that. I don't know, but if I had to bet, which I'm not a betting person, I would say Bucks cover.
I'm going to say blowout. Ohio State's just going to blow them out. Michigan State's got the quarterback of the future, so they've got a person there that's playing well. And I think they've got the right coach, but this isn't the year. They're just going to get blown out by Ohio State. Ohio State, there's just too much offensive power. Michigan State might score a score, maybe 2 scores. I'll be surprised if it's more than 2 scores. All right, a couple big games of the day. We're going to switch it up. I'm going to say, let's first start off Washington State versus Boise State, which is going to be the the group of 5. This is the group of 5 playoff game of the 2 best teams probably at the moment. Who do you think, Washington State or Boise State? Boise State favored by 7.5.
I I don't know enough about either team. I know the history of Boise State, and I know Washington
Washington
State.
State just beat Washington, by the
Yeah,
way.
they have that quarterback who's just racking up touchdowns and yards at Washington State. So I went with Washington State to cover, but Boise State to win.
Good pick. I'm gonna go with Boise State too for the win. I think for the win, but I don't think they'll cover. I agree. All right, let's go to Illinois Penn State with a pseudo whiteout. They called for the whiteout. Franklin's trying to look for anything he can possibly get on his side. Penn State's favored by 18 against Illinois, against Brent Bielema. What say you?
I think Penn State wins, so I'll say that. But there's no way. I don't believe they're going to beat
By
Illinois
18
by
points?
18.
Right. There's no
I
way.
if all these picks on here, if I had to pick one, I would say Illinois and the points is a pretty solid bet. I
Bet
think
the
Penn.
farm. I would
Yeah,
bet the farm. If I was a
yeah,
betting man, I'd bet the
yeah.
farm on that one. There's no way, even with the whiteout and everything else going
No,
on.
agreed.
And especially with James Franklin at the helm. No
Right,
way.
right.
Okay, for the big game. Save the big game. This is a big one. Georgia against Alabama. At Alabama. Game day is there. Georgia's favored by 1.5 at Alabama. What do you think?
I think Alabama wins this straight up. I think um, Georgia goes on the
Wow.
road at
Wow.
Kentucky, and that offense looked pedestrian against an okay UK defense, but nothing special. Alabama is going to have a special defense, and Milrow is not my favorite quarterback, but I respect his athleticism and ability to make plays. So I think
Wow.
he works well against that Georgia really stout defense. So I think Bama wins by 7.
Wow. Wow. Huh. I am going to be on the flip side of it. And please, honey, I really do love you. And I am rooting for Alabama the whole time. I'm just giving you what my thoughts are. I think Alabama is not set up for what Georgia's offense is going to be. I think this is going to be a clash of two defenses, but I think the Alabama offense has a couple of extra people on there that's going to be able to score a point and a half. Favorite, I think it is going to be within a 2 or 3 point game, one way or the other. I'm going to say it's going to be a 2 point, 3 point. I'm going to say it's going to be a 3 point Georgia win. Um, I will certainly believe it's going to be a 2 or 3 point Alabama win. It could be either way. I think Coach DeBoer has his team ready to go. I think that's a fantastic team, but I just believe that right now, Kirby's got the number of a lot of teams, and he's got revenge on his mind. He's going in there to revenge against Alabama. It's going to be about a little bit of revenge. So I'm going with the other direction. I'm going to go with
There you go.
probably a 3 point game with Georgia, somewhere in that 1 to 3 point.
I can easily see that happening. Yep, no doubt.
All right,
All right.
that is the podcast, but we have
You
one
stumped
more.
me.
We have one more. We have one more segment. We have one more segment, and it's called Stump the Panda or Stump the Wheels. This week is Stump the Panda.
Okay.
And it usually is around the 70s and 80s and 90s movie. We're not doing anything current. And the issue is, I have a memory of a gnat that passes away in about 24 hours. And Panda can remember movies because he goes to all these movies and he sits there and enjoys the movies while I'm thinking about how I solve EMC squared. All right. Here is the line, and you're going to get it because it's such an easy line. But I
Oh, thank
love
you.
the movie, and I just always love the movie. Here's the line. Okay. We won a game yesterday. If we win today, it's called two in a row. And if we win again tomorrow, it's called a winning streak. What movie is that from?
Whoa. Could you please repeat the quote?
Okay. We won a game yesterday. If we win today, it's called two in a row. And if we win again tomorrow, it's called a winning streak.
Oh, that's not the Will Ferrell basketball movie, is it? No,
No?
no. Okay. Feels like a football quote, like a football coach. It's not.
But I'm
Is it
going to
Bull
pick it.
Durham? Is it Bull Durham? Baseball?
Hey, you're getting warm.
I don't recognize this quote.
You're getting warm.
Is it?
See, I would only pick something
Oh, is
that
it
was
Major League?
Ah!
There you
Ding, ding, ding,
go.
ding, ding, ding,
I'm
ding,
like,
ding.
okay, that sounds like it came
The
from Major League.
coach.
Ah,
The
yes.
coach.
There you go. Okay. All
What's his
right.
name?
So
Coach Brown. I can't remember the coach's name.
that guy with that deep voice, I love that
That's why I
actor.
added the.
Yeah, that was good. Very good. So I would say I got half of that. I did get it the first
No,
time.
I say you got it.
All right, all right. So not fully stumped.
Not fully stumped. Good podcast this week, Mr. Panda. Great information for our listeners. Great content. I think they will enjoy this podcast. They'll think about some things. They'll think about life's little pleasures. A
And
little bit
hopefully
of
we
hottie
can,
toddy.
yeah, maybe we can get back on track with our weekly goal of having the new one every week, which we kind of lost our focus there for a little bit. So hopefully,
Yeah. Travel around a little bit. That happens. It's okay.
yeah, yeah.
We love you guys. We're the fastest growing podcast on the planet.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you.
Let's go.